Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation, My Play with Vision, a photographer's continuing journey while using multiple senses to frame the world. Well, since I've said I'm a photographer, let me start by showing you some photographs. And I'll talk about my journey subsequently. Do you fancy a ride? This is an archaic carriage which I photographed at the Heritage Transport Museum in Toru, Haryana. Okay. One of my favorite images of a volcano landscape with clouds. Now, this is something I cannot really touch, but it's something I perceive, which is why I was able to take its picture. Okay, what do you make of this? Those of you who have been to the land of five rivers, that's Punjab, may recognize this vehicle. This is actually what's called a jugaad, which translates into jugglery, and it's what we as Indians are particularly good at. And because this vehicle is a mishmash of different components, which is what interested me when I looked at it and took its picture. So how do I take photographs, given that I cannot see? I use an artificial eye, and beyond that, the process for taking photographs is virtually the same as yours. What I mean by that is, I recognize the scene of interest, I aim the camera, I adjust for background and foreground. That is, since I know what I want to photograph, I ensure that I have that object in the frame and in the foreground. I pause to check the frame once again, and then I click. So, I am blind and I've been talking about vision all this time. How do you get vision? The standard answer at one point used to be surgery. That doesn't work for me. Since I'm congenitally blind, there's going to be too much eye destabilization. Implants, certainly. Good research, very popular in the press, but too new. We have an approach called sensory substitution, which basically allows me to perceive vision via another sense, mainly sound. Okay. Now, the advantage of this kind of an approach is the biggest advantage is I don't need any surgery. Okay. And because it lends itself very well to different form factors and hardware, I in effect can build my own eyes. Okay. And this also means that my eyes are very customizable. So how does this work? Essentially, in sensory substitution, it's not only the device or technology. We also tap the human brain. The idea being that the signals from the device go to the brain, and the brain then re-recruits the visual cortex to process those signals. So essentially, you have vision. Now that's the theory, and there is a fair bit of research which is ongoing that's been done. Do I see and perceive the same way like you do? I don't know. But what I do know is I do have the ability to sense objects and scenes which allow me to frame them and take photographs. So specifically, what do I use? I use a program called The Voice, which is written by a Dutch physicist, Dr. Peter B. Meyer. It converts live images to camera sounds. It's a generic solution because we want to see. I don't have, let's say, one eye for water or one eye for looking at trees. No, it's a single program. How does it work? When I'm talking about sounds, what it does is there are just 3 defined rules that the program uses. The panning of the sound tells me where an object is in the horizontal plane. The pitch of the sound tells me height. So the higher the object in the frame, the louder the pitch. The volume maps to brightness. So the louder the sound, the brighter the object. Now, I use these 3 attributes to decode and decipher what I am looking at. And these are, it produces what's called a soundscape, and admittedly it's a complex set of sounds. But over time, I have learned to decode them and determine what I am seeing. Okay. Now, there are some challenges as a photographer. The program works at 1 frame per second. So in case I want to photograph, let's say, birds flying, that's a little bit tricky. Okay. It's monocular vision, so its depth perception is a bit hard. And I don't use color at all because I have no way of experiencing color. I can hear the color as sound, but then I lose shape information. So I stick to shape information, and based on the shape of a scene, I take photographs. Okay. Now, color may not be as crucial, at least for me. I use clues in the scenes like occlusion and how much the background changes. And since the program is virtually ubiquitous, it can run on any platform. So it can get quite portable these days. It runs off a computer, a phone, and anything else, a tablet, etc. Okay. Now, staying with the theme, what's the value of pauses? Especially when you're looking at something, vision is fast, but there is a lot of value in a pause. For one thing, you can really appreciate the details of a scene, which is why, in case I have the time, I do walk around and spend a lot of time on a scene judging angles. I can also look at static images, which allows me to do armchair astronomy. So I load an image, let's say from NASA or recent image of Pluto into the voice and have a good look at it. And I can focus on whatever I want. I can play with the zoom, alter the speed of the soundscape, exclude colors that I don't want, and so on. Which overall gives me better output at the end of the day. So let me show you another image. This is actually a swimming pool, which is not the best place in winters. Okay, it's been taken in winters when I was recently out. These are waves, extremely fascinating to see visually. Especially you can see the rise and fall of the water. And this is in Galle in Sri Lanka. Well, I can see the world too. And this is a world map which I photographed at an art fair. You can't touch a lot of these installations. So this is extremely fascinating to see the different shapes of different countries. Anyone want a drink? Well, in case you haven't guessed it, this is a bar in Thailand. And the beauty of this is the glasses were arranged in a very interesting way. And that's what I captured. Okay, this is an alpine meadow. This is actually Deara in India. And it's a beautiful place, very open, grass, nobody else around. It's a bit of a trek to reach it. but it's something you can do, and you can see the beauty of the landscape. It's in some ways it's a very fascinating texture, especially with the grass in the sky. Okay, this is Fatehpur Sikri. You can see the arches and appreciate them in totality, because if I were to feel them, I get about 20 degrees of view or 10 degrees of view with just my hand. But if I want to appreciate architecture in totality, then this is certainly one way to do it. So what else can I do besides taking pictures? Photography is actually a byproduct of my vision. I want to share what I am looking at with people. So that's how the photography came about. I can locate and doorways, sense branches, very handy when taking elephant rides. The elephant doesn't care, you have to watch out, otherwise you collide with all the branches. I can also maintain my house by detecting peeling paint and so on. Again, this is more a vision thing. And I can shop online, view product images. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a little bit of a glimpse of my photographs and what I can do with sensory substitution and artificial vision.